All right, this is October 21st, 2025. I know this is probably like my fourth video in my journal entry today. So, but it's been one of those days. All right, now look. I went through a lot lately. Look, man, I thought I was having a heart attack. I've seen a vision of the fact that had my grave already ready for me. And I've been having a lot of dreams. I remember my dreams. Sometimes when I wake up, I'm still living my dream. And it used to not always be like that for me. It is now. I don't know why. I might be coming to my end. And look, I already know. I'm at least as old, or about as old as my dad when he died. My grandfather died a little bit later, but he had to suffer more. He had Parkinson's. But he walked every day, man. I'll tell you one thing about my grandpa, James Henry Robbins. He had Parkinson's. I went and seen him when I was younger. I'm talking younger, I don't even know if my kids were born yet. But, I remember the day I was walking, we were walking together. I went out on my walk with him, But he had Parkinson's. He had a hard time talking, and he only had a limited amount of energy, which he wanted to go further than what he could. And man, he's like over 200 pounds, but he was like 6 foot something, okay? He wasn't fat or nothing. he was just a big fella, man. Like over 6 feet. And he wasn't fat. He wasn't. And I had to lift him up off the ground and try to help him home. I think we had to rest. And then I helped him get up, sitting by a tree or something, and then help him get home. And I had to he had to lean half of his weight on me and walk as best he could. And then I told my grandma that he collapsed. He had Parkinson's. First he had a massive heart attack, and then that didn't kill him, and then he got Parkinson's. And then he got to the bad place, like he had a hard time swallowing his food. When you get Parkinson's, it even affects your throat. You can't even, pretty soon toward the end, you could choke on what you're eating because your muscles don't even work good enough for you to swallow your food. That's how I had to put Sport down. Because, Sport, he was suffering. He was getting skinny. He wouldn't eat no food. So once I knew, man, that he wasn't gonna eat, and he was done with life. Something happened, and he was done with life. And he just what needed ended. And now I know a lot about consciousness, and I know that it could be according to the program. Could be his time, they were calling him, and he knew it. Because dogs know more than us about things that we don't know about. Makes me almost feel like getting choked up and crying because providence. Okay? God gives providence to creatures in all the different ways. God gives providence to every creature to handle what they got to handle. I remember, seeing them bears, good, big grizzly bears come out of their den, because something happened or something like that, and they were hibernating, and it was all snowy, and then the hunters shot him, and you see the blood flying. It was sad. It's like a person, man. But it's even harder for me than a person because, you know, man, they're grizzly bears, and they're not hateful. They're just being what they are. They're not full of sin, of trying to, like, you know, like, be unfair. I remember, man, the blood on the snow, the shoulder getting blasted out, and then getting shot again after they get wounded down, and they're suffering and being massacred. Like, it's taking about, like, you know, 10 minutes. And it's an eternity. Well, that could be like what Donald Trump see. America is like that grizzly bear. Donald Trump, you know, he's got a couple partners, you know. They probably got more skill than him. They're behind him. And they're coming out and scaring the grizzly out of his hibernating den. He's unaware of what's going on. He's just a grizzly bear, you know. He ain't thinking about like this kind of level of deception and treachery. He don't even know about treachery. He knows about fair play in the wild, and that's it, you know. And the grizzly ain't no match for some men with 30-06s and even more powerful guns than that to take down a grizzly and blow them backside of their whole back out, and blood and the guts and the bones splattered everywhere, and the grizzly is suffering, saying, "Ah! Seeing his family gone. For what? For what? The greed of another man? So, you know, you make the consideration that my grandchildren see this. And you say, you know, to yourself, you know, what matters? And what you gonna say about it? What you gonna do? What kind of attitude you gonna have? What kind of value you gonna set upon, you know, what I'm calling fair play? And what kind of feelings you're gonna have against treachery? Well, yeah. I didn't show this. Look.
I love that sound. He goes, that sound, it's like money. It reminds me of money, that sound. As the People's House is being ripped to shreds. Let me show you that moment. Let's play it.
And most excitingly, on the other side, you see the fence and the wall. We're building a world-class ballroom. You know, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom here. We don't have a ballroom. We have a little cocktail area, but we don't have a ballroom. The East Room, it's called, is a very small cocktail area. It holds about 88 people if it's tight. And I said, if I do this again, I'm going to get a ballroom built, and we're putting up our own money. With the government is paying for nothing. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh, that's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, reminds me of money. In this case, it reminds me of lack of money because I'm paying for it, so it's the opposite. But it's going to be one of the most beautiful ballrooms anywhere in the world, and it's going to be able to take care of tremendous things. When you have, as an example,
You know,
So
Ben,
we
can I
have the
say
government
something to you on-
shutdown.
Can I say
Let-
something to you on that?
Yeah.
I'm not as offended by Trump making those statements as I am by the senators who are sitting there laughing and applauding for it. I'm more offended by them.
I mean, I'm equally offended. I mean, I guess that's because perhaps you expect more of the senators. You expect them to protect a co-equal branch of government. But, you know, is the perpetrator of the atrocity or the person who aids and abets and enables, you know, it's always an interesting discussion, I suppose. But let's just talk about the fact that we're in a government shutdown right now. Okay. Americans are having their health care ripped away. 20 million Americans getting their health care ripped away. $40 billion is going to bail out Argentina, in addition to $40 billion, which we're basically just flushing down the toilet. Because if you took a look at the Argentine peso today, it's like absolutely crashing. Like, it's not building confidence what the U.S. is trying to do and manipulate the elections with the MAGA puppet Javier Milei there as well. So you have that taking place. You have Trump building this ballroom, which he claimed he was going to pay for. He said that it would not touch the existing facade of the White House, that there would be no damage to the White House at all. And so during this government shutdown, when Americans are terrified, frankly, and are psychologically tortured because they're living paycheck to paycheck right now, everything costs more money. People are afraid they're about to lose their health care because Trump wants to rip it away, and rightful.
That's the news right now. And that comes from primary source too. You heard Trump say what he had to say. You know, he just laughs about it. But look, man, hunters like that, you know, they'll shoot a grizzly. They ain't got no feeling about that. They ain't got no feeling about, you know, a grizzly's feeling, you know. You just say a grizzly just, you know, they could kill a person. But those grizzlies never gonna kill nobody. Man, they're living out in the wild. They're not after people. Just like the immigrants, they're not after people. But it's a trick and it's a scam. And the fact is, Trump ain't just hunting grizzlies. He's hunting the American people so he can profit off of people because he's a predator. And he believes he's above the law. And that's why he can take little girls and have his way with them without remorse. When he was younger, you know, he probably can't even, you know, what you call get it up right now. I don't know. But look, man, he's almost done. I hope so. Jesus Christ, man. It's like, you know, sometimes the stink of things, like if something is rotten, after it hits a certain level of rot, you know, it's never going to smell any worse than what it has when it hits the top level of rot. And the smell ain't going to get any worse. And eventually it'll go away. But that's exactly like Trump right now. He's at the highest level of his rot in America. Jesus Christ. But it's like a rotten garbage, man. It's going to have to be taken out to the trash and dumped. And underground, let it decay under there. I'm just going to call this one rot. And be done with it. Alright. My grandchildren, alright? I hope that you get this, because I have no idea what your life is going to be. Seriously. I have no really idea which way this is going to go. What kind of an America you're going to have. But it would be so amazing and beautiful and great if we could have America with love for each other and full of faith. Seriously. only time is gonna tell. Look, I hope America votes like me. And I hope there's more people in America, because if there's not, it's going to be really sad. And I don't know what that's going to mean as far as like everlasting kind of stuff and the reality of things. Because if it fails in this little simulation here, what's that going to mean, man? I know it's bullshit. What are you going to say? Evil is more powerful than good? Is that what you're really going to say? And that's what you want? I don't know. I heard a long time ago Star Trek was a good metaphor. It was like a present day metaphor. I don't remember. I think I heard Joseph Campbell said that. And he's been dead a long time. Long time ago. Star Trek came out a long time ago. And so you got to understand it, right? The time frame. I was younger when I heard it. And I think I still believe it. It's true. Star Trek is like the metaphor for this present age. And you just gotta have mercy and pity and try to have patience, with the people that are like, Darth Vader. Even though you gotta fight him with all the skill you can muster. He's your father. I'm your father, Luke. I think he might have said that. I am your father. Well, this is one hell of a simulation. I'm just going to call this one, I'm your father, Luke. That's the metaphor. And it's true. No. Take courage and be strong, my grandchildren. Have faith and courage. May the wind be against your back, and the sun shine upon your face, and forever be young. I could call this one Forever Be Young, because it really encapsulates, you have, when you're young, you have young and tender thoughts and hopes. They're not dashed yet. So I'll call this one. And that was a song that I dedicated to my children, because, of course, I had my mom, she sang me songs. And, like, I wasn't a singer to my children like my mom. And, we even have opportunity, like my mom did to me, really. But I did, try to play. And I dedicated. I don't remember how I did it, I think I gave some kind of something to my kids, I know that I dedicated the song Forever Young to my children. All my children. And I learned about that song, I listened to a lot of Bob Dylan when I was on the John F. Kennedy during the Gulf War, walking the hallways, and when I was like, just transitioning, from one place to another. I had a headset, and I had some cassette tapes. I got a lot of Bob Dylan when I was in Saudi Arabia from a store. It was all bootleg stuff, but it was still his music. I got it cheap. They listened to Bob Dylan over there too. When I was in during the Gulf War, they had it. I bought cassette tapes, and I had a Walkman. Like, I could just call this one a Walkman, like I only can fit like so much, in my title. I had a Walkman. That's when I got my hopes up. When I had a Walkman, I listened to Bob Dylan, I got my hopes up. I was very depressed during the Gulf War, man. I didn't know what the hell was going on in my life. My mom, you know, had my 2 children. Yeah. I can remember this one if I just say I had a Walkman. But I hope it's some value to you. I would hate for my life to be in vain. Alright, bye.